absolutely safe by locking in the win here. Let's see if they can get it done as we go live onto Oregon first ban. Not going to be a surprise. Those Ying basement executes are still far too bothersome for a lot of defensive teams to deal with, so Oxygen is going to be knocking that right out. Meanwhile, SSG just doesn't like the current meta, so they're going to get rid of Finka.
That's good news, because that means that Newers has to play anything else. So we'll see if it has the same effect as we saw yesterday in one of our later matches. Zami is going to end up getting banned out by SSG as well. Just so potent with the current meta. We've seen her time and time again, at least within the recent play days, as people have gotten looser with her ban, but I'm sure that that's about to be tightened back up as we get closer to Berlin. Mira is going to be the one to round out the rest of the defensive end here for Oregon.
Does mean there's going to be a lot left in play for the defensive side specifically. All mitigation operators are left in the pool, so you could triple stack that. A few other dangerous things will be left in play as well, so we'll have to see how SSG is going to deal with it now as we get themselves onto their first attacking round. Not going to see any huge surprises here off the initial pick, but keep in mind, folks, we do have attacker repick now, so at least the bottom line up there could change quite dramatically before the round actually gets started. Site choice as well, not going to yield us anything crazy here as Auction go to the expected start in the basement.
Yes, indeed. And with these offensive and defensive bans in, we are going to have access to a lot of things that we don't normally see. The big one for Oregon being Kaid, if we ever see that on the defense. But as John was just talking about, attacker repick has made it to where some of these super influential defensive picks aren't as strong just because you can adjust over to another offender accordingly, like Thatcher, to be able to get rid of an Electro Claw or something like that that's holding up a hatch or a wall. So Oxygen more than likely won't be prioritizing that all that often unless they can catch SSG off guard, but we'll just have to see. As of now, they're going to be starting off in the basement. They've opened up some different avenues to actually work their way back to site, the big one being the freezer hatch here inside of security.
For that, we are going to see at least a little bit of presence maintained by Oxygen on the first floor, continuing into the actual round now, of course, as SSG has spawned out. In their operator department, not going to see any major departure from what they had initially selected here. In fact, I believe mostly everything is going to stay exactly the same. We'll see a small thematic shift for a few players here, mainly just bringing in the secondary hard breach there for Sky. Other than that, Bosco will be taking care of most of the duties in that department. However, it's going to take some time for SSG to even get to those hatches. As you can see, OXG has quite the spread of a defensive push upstairs even to try and fend off the pushes from SSG here as they try to take initial control.
SSG has built themselves up around this top floor, but Vertical, he's been flirting back and forth with Hot and Cold, and Master will finally dust him. It's going to be the opening kill going the way of the defense, but Rampy's found a hole here in the roam game. They were holding down Kitchen for some time, but actually at a second glance, Auction is backed off due to the fact that they got the pick onto Hot, and they really don't need more than that, and they know that they can more than likely play this off of site with their utility game, and, well, that's what they're going to choose. Back off and see if they can continue to allow Laxing to add more of these. Well, my discs, as SSG will be forced to clear out the rest of this mid floor and start getting control of these hatches.
Yeah, I love the second floor play from Vertical. Generally speaking, it's going to be a little bit risky just because of how far you have to extend yourself out from the site, but he plays it perfectly. He's able to obviously knock out the presence of Hot and Cold. Thankfully, the sledge top downs aren't going to be a make or break thing for SSG in this round, so the loss of the operator itself is at the end of the day for our attackers, but the big problem is going to be that 5v4 that they're now forced into, as well as the kind of hesitation throughout the rest of SSG's clear that's going to have to come as a result of that deficit that they'll be fighting back from.
I mean, yeah, usually even on a West clear, like, the offense would already be getting hatch control right now. SSG is just now starting on things. This is just going to be really off on timing. Another unfortunate event here is the Flores drone will not be allowed to progress. The mute jammer being played on by Fox will actually hold it back. Another one of those Rotero drones will get eaten up by the alibi, as SSG's been stunted for growth already in round one. And past that, I mean, just remember, they're down one of their members. Fortunately enough, Rampy will be able to clean up Dream with a frag grenade, but that doesn't mean too much just yet until he's able to go 2 for 2. Make it 3 is Rampy warming up here today. Hasn't had the greatest of stages, but now taking it to Oxygen when SSG needs it most.
Beautiful execute from SSG. Bit of a mistake back over on the Harry Potter position. Dream had been droned out. Not sure if he noticed it or not, but it led to him getting naded into that corner. Bosco now with an open plan opportunity. He's going to take it. Doesn't look like any interruption coming in from the Oxygen camp either. Fox barely sneaks the kill off up on Disguise. As you can see, very low HP after finding up a Bosco looking away. The timing's not going to play out for him. Foxe takes down nearly another member of the squad, and Laxing will be able to steal out one more, but that'll be it. SSG make the execute work despite the deficit at the beginning of the round, and they claim the first as a result of that. That
is Ramp Dog on a quad with the G36C on Yana. 2 for 2 on the frag grenades and got the rest done with the rifle. A highlight play to kick us off here on Oregon, which usually is a map that's decently slow. That's what we saw initially there up until the pick from Vertical. I love the call from Oxygen to back off and try and play it from sight, but some of those forward positions really punish just with the lack of utility from Oxygen in those positions. They only had the Wamai to try and prevent throwable utility, and it was exploited immediately by Rampy. So unfortunately, they lost those bodies in a situation like that, but they have an opportunity to try it yet again.
So let's see if they're going to be able to repeat the same amount of success, especially when it comes to the construction entry. That's where SSG was able to finally fight their way into the round here. For Oxygen, though, did a good job of delaying things down to that final minute, of course, where SSG thankfully was able to bring things back under their own control. But now the question becomes, does Oxygen double down on the aggression we were seeing, especially in areas like the upstairs portion of the map, or are they going to pull it back a bit, play more into a traditional bunker that we tend to see teams play out on this site? Maybe a little bit of extension into areas like Freezer, but aside from that, not going to be trying to play out too aggressively. It seems like they're going to double down on it, though, as Vertical still maintains that second floor positioning here, so they'll try to waste out the time in the first minute for a second round in a row.
Well, if we're going off of what we saw from the first round, Spacestation's pretty slow at getting themselves into the building to try and contest any of the roam game from Oxygen, so OXG might be leaning into that and hoping that they can soak up more of this clock. Viewers will be playing down the stairs near security for the time being. See how long they can hold on to this. Foxe will be back over inside of Kitchen. And remember, SSG tried to deal with the top hold initially. That's how Houghton got punished by Vertical in this exact same position we see him in at the current moment. So Laxing's going to actually throw himself into Armory. And it is quiet around the map right now. Spacestation, no forward progress, all except for the drones. And now trying to focus themselves over on the small tower's side. We'll have one of the drones discover a player inside of Kitchen, and Laxing will get found out on top. So now SSG has to pick and choose their battle. Will be forced to try and push himself forward here. And oh no! Laxing with the sauce in round 2. Oxygen have the opener again, but does that mean they get the round?
Lucky on the timing for SSG. They're going to lose down the player again, but as Stokes was just mentioning, already been able to make up for that deficit once back on the previous round here. So it's already a problem that SSG have solved once. They're going to have to see if they can do it 2 times in a row, and with them losing that initial player much later into the round as well. Not to mention the fact that Lion has also been taken out, so that's most of the intel they would have been gathering in the execute now deleted. The Yana can still help out a little bit in that department, being played by Rampy, but obviously he's going to be worried about other things, mainly on the entry duties once we get to that point of the round, so probably won't be of too much assistance there. Either way, SSG now refocusing up, getting ready to pop open the hatches and start working their way down through the back stairs.
Very nicely placed by Hot and Cold. Take out the deployable shield inside of Laundry. With a minute to go, SSG does have enough time to break this up. And oh my, here we go, John. I better stand up for this one. SSG with 3 people dropping in, and they're going to immediately flood. They'll take down 1. Can't get the second. It's an immediate trade from Oxygen as they shut down SSG. Stunted for growth here. Not too much to do past that. Skies will get taken down by Foxe on the rotation. I love the idea, but that doesn't mean that it's going to work.
Even got them a little bit at the beginning there, surprised them for the first few seconds, but very quick adjustment from OXG to make sure that they shut that down before it gets too far. Thankfully, a few key members able to get in the way of the clear on the interior portion of the site and take control for themselves.
I almost want the buck there as well, if you really think about it, right? You're in that CQC moment right around that bomb chassis. Slap a buck in there, you got the secondary hard breach with that skeleton key for those closer range engagements. Maybe it doesn't trade out in the same way, but the big thing is that Oxygen quickly identified what was going on with that hatch drop, and they didn't let it get too far. Obviously, only ended up losing, I believe, Vertical inside of the freezer hallway there. So, bang up job by OXG, and they'll throw themselves to the heavens as they'll take control of the top floor.
So, Oxygen going to get their site back under their control now downstairs and shift, of course, as Stokes was just mentioning, onto the second floor. Once again, things are not going to be too surprising here in terms of what we're going to be seeing out of the team. Foxe is going to go for a little bit more of a comfort pick here in the alibi, so that'll give him a bit more freedom to roam around and potentially pick up some early frags for himself. Other than that, that, though, it's exactly what we expect to see. Norwich as well, adding the Cade into this one, potentially going to slow down the execute from SSG a bit. They are aware of this. They're not necessarily going to bring anything that will immediately counter it, so we'll have to watch out for that. It'll be nades primarily, but thankfully in a position where they can be caught out from down below, so should still be able to work their way through areas like walk-in should it become relevant to SSG's execute. Aside from that, though, they're going to make some pretty small changes too. Just Bosco changing up the style of hard breaches. We'll go over towards an ace, and Skies, of course, bringing the Nomad in to counter out some of this roam game. That's been a problem for OXG, but as you can see, SSG quite aware of that and now already working to counter it, as Vertical will lose about half of his HP trying to make a play in Yellow Hall.
I don't know about you, but I've been truly loving how Oxygen is holding the building at the current moment. They're constantly out towards the fringes of the map and forcing SSG to take their time inside of this opening minute to push OXG onto their back foot. It's making things really complex to where they don't exactly have the time they want towards the end of the round. Oxygen not going to be doing it in the exact same way we saw it initially as they've backed off of some of these more forward positions, but Vertical still downstairs inside of Freezer Hall. He's been discovered. He'll move his way back into the stairwell. SSG starting to make some headway on the side as the Summon Charge will go down on Master, but past that, it's silence. SSG trying to discover more of what's going on inside of the site and try and get some of these Rotero drones in to remove some of this utility.
Things go a little bit quiet now because of that. Neither team probably going to want to try and step themselves out into a fight too early on here. We'll actually see as well that Rotero drone going to get interrupted for just a split second. I think it'll still end up making its impact in a moment, though. But we'll have to see. Actually, no, it looks like it did actually successfully get mute jammed out there by Laxing. So we're going to be able to get rid of that one. Another one will be taken care of as well. So Fultz not having the best of luck right now when it comes to these Rotero drone runs, as two of them at least have been mitigated.
Oh, Rampy's going to pocket the nade. Was so very close to a kill there. See if he lines it up again. Has to be hopeful about the alibi. Oh, and it's going to down Fox. Fragmentation luck going his way as it bounces back, and he should be able to secure it with the second one. He will. The Verticals found Fultz in the process. Laxing still holding on to security. Looking to start swinging the door as well, just trying to make his presence known and get them to try and focus on his positioning that would give Vertical some opportunities at the end of the Z hallway. Rampy now trying to look to see if he can sneak his way onto site because he knows that SSG needs to start making some headway, but Laxing, he's not paying attention to the hop here, and Bosco's now planting inside of dorms. Looks back up to the window, but the damage is already done, and now he has to go searching through the sea for this man, but it's open ocean. Oxygen can't find him, but Laxing finally takes down Bosco. Most of the control, though, over to SSG. Vertical does have some presence inside of the site now, but he's the only Oxygen member alive, and this is looking like SSG's got the round in the bag.
Super tough retake here for Oxygen to even start to pull off. Obviously, this wrap from Hot and Cold is going to immediately take down Vert and end the round there, but unfortunately, as soon as we saw Rampy get that first entry, which allowed them to go for the plant, the members of SSG were set up nearly perfectly to just slowly back up away from that plant position and crunch out any opportunity that Oxygen might have had to try and take down those players on the way out. So beautifully done from SSG. A little bit relied on that entry happening to make it work, but once that was done, it was easy sailing from that point forward for the squad, it seemed.
Yeah, really difficult situation there for Oxygen, because it's not exactly a misplay, but it's one of those decisions that you wish you could pull back.
They were also, they were like super split up was the big problem for Oxygen too. Like you mentioned there with Laxing not being able to catch the window hopping because he was worried about the two players trying to push up white stairs.
This is exactly where this goes. If Vertical doesn't rotate out of Z, somebody's there to watch the door, and you're able to watch that window. It's one of those things where, like, exactly what I was saying. It's nobody's fault, but you wish you could go back and change that decision. Yeah. You know? So it's just one of those things. They get a call on site. Vertical's one of the guns downstairs. You got your site set up split where you're 2 upstairs, 2 down. You want to try and reinforce that site setup. Make sure you have all of your guns for the most part there. Laxing can try and play out a situation downstairs because, well, that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to play till death inside of security. But unfortunately enough, it was death for the rest of the team as it did not work out for him. Also, just another note there for SSG, it was kind of awkward initially what they were going for on the master side with everybody over near small tower. It ends up working out in the end, but I think
it was by design though.
Yeah, it was just a little weird because most of the time whenever we see a setup like that, just because the Sonics were doing that for so very long with a security or like a security kitchen setup, a lot of teams just started taking that top floor quickly and forcing those players to try and come back through other means instead of trying to use the big window. But SSG, again, they just get away with it. Bosco hopping the window, Laxing can't watch it, and everything else in between that we saw there for round 3. But that's old news. New business now as round 4 is on the docket. And we've already started things up, but as you guys know about Oregon, not too much has happened just yet. Have an opportunity here for Newers. He's going to tag up Fultz right in the knees. Have fun trying to walk after that.
Pretty much right when he was pulling his phone out to check cameras as well. So really unfortunate timing for Fultz, as he pretty much is going to be locked in an animation there. Has no way to avoid that damage since it was thrusted upon him. So easy 50% HP drain, going to go out onto one of the members of SSG. Obviously, Fink is banned, so no redeeming that at this point of the game. And away from that, things going back to the slow clear from SSG. But there's reason behind this. As you can see, Sky still working on opening up attic access. They're not going to make a move until that's completed. A few other steps need to be checked off the list as well here, like some action downstairs. Looks like they're building up to, so we will have to wait for SSG to complete that before they're going to be in a good position to make this play happen. Trying to take out as well, I think, the Mute Jammer as well as the Electric Claw on the walk-in wall, and they'll finally be able to do that after dumping a boatload of utility on top of it, but nicely done from Foxay to immediately counter it out with one of his impacts.
So if you ever want to impact trick that wall, you got to do is break up the flooring there, and you need to throw your impact on one of the fan blades that are to the left and right. If you throw it too close to you, then obviously the fragmentation won't be able to get the breach, but if you're able to get it out towards that other side on any of the other 3 fan blades, then you're able to destroy any hard breach on that, unless Abana wants to set her stuff up too high, or you try and slap a Selma really high as well. But anything like an exothermic or stuff along those lines will be removed from play, and now SSG worse for wear because of it. Concussions in from Rampy. He'll be able to discover a player at the top of white, but this timer is dwindling, and SSG really needs a pick at the current moment.
Sky's sitting back, waiting for the opportunity to work himself forward here. A one-to-one trade from the main team trying to work their way in, and Vertical now pinching from small tower. All the white stairs pressure is dead. It's all being pushed in from Attic's side now, and unfortunately not going very well at the moment for SSG, but finally downing another member of the squad. Dream gets knocked out inside of Kids, confirmed by Skies as well. That'll warrant some respect to come in from Oxygen. They're actually going to back up, allow Hot and Cold as well as Skies to get in, and even get the plant because of how far away they've backed up now. An attempt to rotate back around. One player still going to keep their presence on the white stairs push here, but as well, Vertical dashing past the air jabs. As you can see, now getting hit by a second one. Hot and trying to line up for the double kill, but it won't work out. The repeats from Oxygen are just far too strong, and they'll claim another second round for themselves.
I am distraught at the fact that Vertical won that repeat. Oh my, so unfortunate there for Space Station. A really, really good opportunity to win that round there, but it goes to the wayside. Auction able to pick it up on the retake. Big shout out to Vertical there as well for winning out that engagement. I mean, honestly, once I saw the repeat, I was like, oh, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that he's able to get this, but able to shut down that member, and then the rest of SSG obviously faltering as well. Hot and Cold not able to get it done, and that's going to mean that Oxygen can go back downstairs. So far, they've been neck and neck through the first 4 rounds. It's 2-2 at the current moment. Oxygen at least playing up to snuff, I would say. They've been having a pretty good day thus far. SSG, you could say more of the same, especially for Rampy, who hasn't been having the best of stages. Who's kind of touched on that during the analyst desk. A -9 before this game started with a .91, so definitely not playing up to his capabilities, but showing off exactly what he can do here today.
So since we obviously have played out 2 times on each site, Oxygen have already re-unlocked Basement 4 play, so they're going to be making a quick return to that one and try to lock in a 3rd round for themselves. Have already learned their lesson from the initial execute coming in from SSG, have been able to solidify it, but now does SSG change up their game plan to try and negotiate a 3rd round, a 2nd win on this specific site? Or is Oxygen's adjustments going to stay strong and continue to hold well for them to be able to claim their own 3rd round? Maybe even a 4th coming up after this as well here. Either way, it's a very close matchup right now. Neither team in control of the game. And as a result, we continue to wonder how exactly things will evolve. Noor's going to be the one to try and play things out aggressively this time in the event. We see a clear coming out from the small tower side. And Vertical, as usual, still going to be messing around with things upstairs by Master.
Well, there's one thing I know about Rainbow Six Siege. It never evolves, John. It usually devolves into chaos, and that's what I am awaiting. We'll see what happens here as the drones will be brought back to showers and picked up from the Yana of Rampy. Fultz in tow as well to try and help with this info game. They obviously know that Foxy is going to be inside of securities. He's constantly pelting the showers hallway with that MX4 Storm. The Valkyrie has been discovered, and that's going to force them back into the freezer hallway. They're going to hold on to that for some time. And Vertical actually work his way across the field as well, over towards Big Tower. And actually, him and Foxy seemingly wants to try and hold on to this tower area for a longer period of time. And this could really get in the way of SSG's clear once they start going for this big tower take.
This is a very proactive attempt to counter out the usual play we've seen from SSG, which has been relying on at least one player working their way down through back stairs. Obviously, we saw a bit of a hot drop in through meeting room this time, but even going back to the first round's play, SSG did send the majority of their forces in through the back stairs and construction avenues. They're hoping by putting some presence here, they can get in the way of that, stop the execute of the usual strategy from SSG and force them to change up their hand, possibly make some mistakes along the way that they can then abuse. But obviously, heavy commitment of their forces here from Oxygen just to make this possible. So it could end up coming back to bite them if SSG have a secondary plan ready and they can get into the site quickly enough to make these players in Big Tower a moot point.
SSG has to focus on these hatches right now and start accomplishing these tasks. Otherwise, they're going to get punished simply by Oxygen's presence. They don't need to do more than that, as they've constantly been soaking up this clock. Neurons will finally go down, but it's inside of the last minute, and hot and cold. I mean, he's an inch away from death. Fox will drop back down. He'll get discovered from Yana's clone, and looking to see if he'll try and work his way back through Attic. He'll make this decision as he propels himself forward. Frag grenade out now as we get on board with SSG and Vertical, trying to hold things down around the construction area. The frag grenade out, won't be able to do it. It rolls back towards him as it hadn't been cooked. What an unfortunate circumstance for him, but what a fortunate one for Fox, as he takes down the case holder. Some help here from Dream, but doesn't really get too much. Case back in the hand of Rampy. Laxine has to work his way back through, but Fox, they put all of the weight on his shoulders, and SSG will knock it off. His head, that is. His SSG will be able to take the round.
Fox just so close to clutching it out by being able to snipe out the planter from the back stairs, but the exchanges are just too quick and too strong from SSG. They're able to take control of it instead, so they get their third round on the board. The lead is now theirs again, but will it stay there? Oxygen not going to be feeling potentially transitioning over towards the second floor hold, mainly because that's still going to be locked away, unfortunately, so they can't even do that. Going to be forced onto their tertiary site now inside of meeting halls. They do not feel the replay on basement, given what they just executed towards the previous round.
Absolutely, and when it comes to the kitchen sites, this is the preferable one, I would say. A lot of teams going for kitchen meeting over kitchen cafeteria. It's not that cafeteria isn't played, it's just that it's a little bit annoying whatever you do. You really have to focus and try and buckle down on shower and make sure that the offense can't bowl you over and get an easy plant inside of cafe that could lead to one of the easiest post plants inside of the current map pool. So we'll have to see what SSG can potentially do now that we're looking towards this other site. They're going to be bringing the Thermite because of this, more than likely focusing on a stage take. And the more and more we see from this blue, the more and more I think that's exactly the case. Fultz, this is locked in. Whenever you see the 3 seconds on that timer, no one can change a single operator. So that means that we have Glass for our last round of offense for SSG.
Indeed we do. So we'll see what exactly SSG are going to be able to work towards on this. There is a lot of very long crosses that can be established on this site execute, so I can absolutely see an area where Fultz will be able to work this, especially if he's able to get those smokes down in the correct position, which he shouldn't have a problem doing, because not only does he have his own smoke grenades, but Bosco's carrying 2 in the pocket as well, so they should have more than enough to get the job done. Even looking at the defensive side, they have gotten rid of most of the mitigation. Sometimes they've been working with Wamai alongside the Melusi, or rather the Amaru, but not going to be seeing that come out here for Vertical this time. So go for the laser gates instead. So that should be pretty easy for SSG to be able to work their way past.
Oh.
Set up for a plane side. This will be a dirty angle from Oxygen, though, if they're going to be able to work it.
And you got Fox and the counter angle all the way over at small tower as well. This is just disgusting. I don't approve of any of this. Unless they get a kill, then obviously I'm very about it, but we'll have to see. Oh! First headshot right there, right with the DMR.
Casual one tap as
Literally
well.
A singular bullet out of that DMR, and it just blows Newer's head off of his shoulders. No longer Valkyrie is allowed to exist inside of this map, minus her cameras. Laxine will get discovered by a drone, but none of the SSG members are there to actually be able to capitalize on that. But they've got to be happy with how far they've already gotten inside of this opening minute and a half. They've gotten a pick onto a pretty influential player, and they still have access to all of their own utility to try and get a plant down.
Vertical, though, getting the counter against Fultz. You may have seen it getting cooked up there at the top of the laundry stairs at the start of the second floor. He was just about to peek the window. Fultz did not check for it, and as a result of that, obviously we could assume that Vertical went for the peek and found success in getting the trade against Fultz.
Yes, indeed. That's exactly what more than likely happened, my friend. Have one of the going sixes out, be able to destroy one of the Banshees on the floor. Speaking of Banshees, Foxy is going to reposition himself as Malusi in towards meeting in behind the sandbags, a position that we've seen in recent history here on Oregon grow into infamy. And actually, what a position right now from Fox as he is literally directly under the stage. What an angle for him. Has found one up on the stairwell, but now he's going to drop down low, and this could honestly be a make or break moment there for him, as I'm more than likely going to have the potential to rotate back up into tower stairs. Frag grenades out for Rampy. Oxygen, they still have a very solid delivery system when it comes to their util game. There's really nothing that SSG can do with the stage just yet, and Dream still has a smoke in his back pocket, and that's not even to mention laxing down low with the Nitro Cell.
Last Toxic Babe gonna go out. Attackers now trying to brute force their way past it, going for a kitchen execute, but as you can see, Dream's here with the SMG-11. Quick switch to the shotgun. He won't be able to get the kill, however. Rampy trades it back out. We're in a 2v3, but he needs to get this plant down, and thankfully, he'll throw it down on the ground just in time. Problem being, though, he has 0 support on that position, so it's an easy trade out for Oxygen to lock in one more round of their own. It's a dead heat at halftime, as the score is locked at 3-3.
You know, I just realized I had been standing ever since that hatch drop from earlier, so I'm gonna take a seat here. And speaking of taking the seats, my God, Foltz, what a shot from downrange. That's the beauty of having some bananas to be able to shoot at whenever that scope does turn itself on. So it's gonna be tied game here between Oxygen and SSG, and I would really say it's neck and neck at the current moment. Both of these teams having answers for each other in a lot of different ways. I enjoyed a lot of SSG's kind of theory crafting that we saw with like stuff like that hatch drop and kind of the glass pit coming in and things along those lines. It was just a really fun half to watch, especially with the way that Oxygen was able to counter out a lot of those moments. So we'll see if they can get more done now, as Oxygen will be switching gears over to the offensive end, and they've got a little bit of a different look when it comes to their lineup. Not the most crazy thing when it comes down to it. We saw SSG using some line on their side as well, and everybody else making quite a bit of sense for a map like this.
Yep, Thunderbird's going to be added into the lineup for SSG. Shout out to Console Siege there. They remember that tournament for a few months ago?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. You weren't even with me on that one.
Was I not with you on
No, that
one?
was when I did one with Demo. Me and Demo got a nice picture of the Console Siege meta, and it's just Thunderbird every setup.
Well, it's almost like she has an assault rifle on defense that doesn't have a ridiculous amount of kick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the spear through 8 shoots wherever you want it. You take the 416C and you're looking at the sun. That's just it's just how it is. So a little bit of a better gun, and you really can't argue that, especially from a console point of view, where controlling recoil isn't exactly the easiest thing in the world. So definitely making quite a bit of sense there, my friend. And you know, this is making quite a bit of sense. This denial from SSG, but they don't know that Vertical's actually pushed his way into T2 already, and Rampy's going to go down because of it. Dream, he's taken a lot of flack, but he's not dead just yet. So there's a frag grenade in his pocket, and SSG looking for their answer in round 7.
I'm going to slowly start to back away from the current position, hoping for maybe one more member of the Oxygen roster to hop in through that window up into T2, but it's just not going to happen here. He'll have to give up the position sooner rather than later, or face potentially being executed upon. There's a possibility he might be waiting this out too in the event that he doesn't get cleared, so maybe he could have some sort of late flank, but he's going to get cleared in just a second here. As you can see the drone roll up. There you go. He's been cleared. So now has to get his butt the heck out of here before he gets hunted down by the large majority of Oxygen players that are slowly surrounding him at this point.
Yes, indeed. Hutton has one inside of Attic. That's going to be Vertical. Volts takes down Foxy, and that's really good news for SSG, because technically at the current moment they're ahead. Dream does indeed have some low HP, so they'll be looking at that to see if they can try and fight back and try and get something done there. Vertical is going to fall off of this top floor. Just remember that we do still have Hutton inside of that area at the time being, so has the potential to try and get a flank off, but it's so very quiet as of now. Bosco, he's going to move his way up into the back stairwell. Has one, but it's just going to be the clone. As you can see, it gets dealt with accordingly, pushing down the staircase. And Nitro Cell out off of those stuns, and Sky's actually going to be the one to get a kill. He's all the way upstairs as well, and that's going to be onto Laxing. Again, Dream's still very low, and it's gotten down to this. It's a 2 versus 4. We're going to have Newers be able to pick up 1 and make it a 2 versus 3, so still doable, but the positioning of SSG is so strong as of now.
Very desynced execute coming in from Oxygen due to the multitude of issues they faced over the course of this round, and they're just not going to be able to sleep.
Crossed?
Fingers crossed.
I'd knock on wood, but the monitor
pretty sure we fixed it, so I think we're back in-game now and getting back into this match. For anyone who did just join us while we were out of game for a few minutes there, it is SSG versus Oxygen. Obviously, you're getting yourself spoiled right now because the score is on your screen, so I am not going to hold back. It's 4-3 in the favor of SSG at the moment here. Only up by 1 round, though. This game has been very back and forth if you missed the earlier rounds, and of course the previous half here, almost a teeter-totter with these teams going back and forth at each other, so we have no clear winner projected yet.
That's how a teeter-totter works?
Does it? I don't know.
I don't know either. That's what I was asking you.
What is a teeter-totter? I just use it as a phrase of speech.
I've never seen a teeter-totter in my life.
I've never even been to a playground.
Playgrounds don't exist, John. They're a figment of your imagination. Your parents lied to you. It's like Santa.
That's the same thing Santa Claus told me.
All right, well, past that, though, and past the memes from our kind of technical timeout there, folks, we're finally into another round, so we have some fresh things to talk about, thankfully. And it looks like we're going to have double hard breach here for Oxygen. Obviously, it's going to be a top floor defense from Spacestation as they've been building up to this. They're going to have the Warden along for the ride as well. That'll work around the stun game that we could see working its way out from Oxygen, but more than likely just here for the burn. Now, the good news is there's really not much burn that they need in order to gain access to a lot of these portions of the map that they're looking into, as laser gates will be the only thing blocking those. So not that much of a tax when you think about it that way, as Fox 8 will swing into Armory and start applying pressure in from the east.
Fox 8 patiently back, waiting for his opportunity to jump out here and swing into action.
So unfortunate.
Not going to be able to find it here.
I thought Fox had it there for just a moment, but instead he went for the Rotero drone with the concussions coming in and everything else in between. Could have ended up taking out the Valkyrie of Hot and Cold, but I mean, beggars can't be choosers. They've gotten control of Trophy now, and they can start working for Master.
Newers as well, waiting for potential opportunity for him to try and push further into Master itself. As you can see, a lot of resistance built up from the SSG camp, both in terms of Hot and Cold and Bosco's position, rotate a little bit deeper into games. Hot and Cold's progression into the connector will be noticed, however, so he's going to be forced back into a more default position. Bosco, though, still holding presence here, despite the fact that we have the walk-in closet breach. This is going to be a tough cookie to crack here for Oxygen, but they're ready to push past anyway. Sky shuts down the first bit of resistance, but Noor is able to trade on the inside of Attic. Hot and Cold now low, but with the trade, he has to run. Unfortunately, won't be able to get himself out of there. Still ends up going down. Bosco picking up one more exchange. It's still very close, though. Brought to a 2v1. Now a 1v1 as everything is coming to bear here. Rampy versus Dream to settle the round as both teams end up in almost opposite positions to where they started. Dream, though, still needs to get the case down on the ground. That's the biggest issue he's going to be dealing with. Tries to go as far away from Rampy as possible to mask the sound. Believe he's still going to catch it, though, as he's now racing up to try and stop this plant from happening. Won't get the opportunity to interrupt the plant, but he will still have the opportunity to clutch out the round. The flank coming back around here doesn't have the right angle, but he's going to be trying to correct into it. Loses a lot of HP, but can't get the win versus Dream. He clutches it out instead, and Oxygen tie us up again at 4-4.
That was, and I mean in the most literal sense, a clown fiesta of a round. That was incredible. Just so many millisecond decisions being made by all of these players inside of this round. Back and forth we go, but finally Oxygen able to get it done inside of the 1 versus 1. But I mean, even then, Rampy having to do so much damage to Oxygen there at the very tail end of that round to even get that situation. So very well done from both of these teams, but Oxygen able to edge them out in the clutch.
This game is more so just kind of keeping themselves in tip-top shape, making sure they give their opponents a good game as well here. It's all about that, because they've already managed to get themselves qualified to the major pretty much, and they're just looking for SI points more than anything.
Exactly. For Space Station, high-octane match. For Oxygen, just breathe. That's all you need to do. Exactly. You need to go out there, play your scrim, relax, take your time, and that's what Oxygen have been doing. It's been a slow roll from them, and, well, it's gotten them this far, hasn't it? And just to remind you guys again, only 6 points required from Oxygen to go to Germany. So that means that as of right now, as we sit 4-4, SSG really wants to start making a stand right now. They don't even want to let Oxygen get close, because if there's a simple mistake that's made inside of a round, Oxygen now take exactly what they need from SSG, and it's all over. So with that being said, in the round we go, and past that, Newers with probably the most interesting pick that you and I have gotten today.
Absolutely the case here. Slingshot is going to engage at some point in this round for Newers as he's bringing the Gara hook to bear. We have seen this used quite often by, actually, I think SSG used it a few weeks back as well to try and combine it with Sense as well once they were added into the lineup, but didn't really end up working out too well inside of that single round from SSG, so let's see if Oxygen can make better use of the guard hook by itself without the support of those smoke walls.
I'm just putting this out there. You know, if you hear Shake and Bake during the play-by-play of the section, it is all Blue's fault. And it is now. Here's the requirement. We're going to need 2 people to do something on the same team. Otherwise, the phrase, well, it just doesn't work, does it, Blue?
Oh, no.
Does not. Well, Oxygen has worked their way in towards Kitchen. They've gotten control of this for some time, so we'll see what they can get done with the frag grenades from underneath, but SSG aren't giving them a single look in that regard. No one playing around the kids' dorm space. Volt's downstairs inside of security, but he's not going to be making too much headway. And Newers?
This is bold if he goes for it.
This is an extremely bold strategy, Cotton. You are 100% correct on that. I don't know how the cross is going to work here. They really want to repel on the window, maybe get some attic pressure, and then big window. That's what they really want to hold on to here. And the case is on Newer, so we're looking for a very similar play to what we saw from something like Consulate out of BC earlier on inside of, I believe this stage might have been last, but either way, that's exactly what this play is building up to. And you can see Oxygen, I mean, they're taking their sweet, sweet time. Bosco could have an answer to this as well, and also I'm a little worried because as soon as he hightails it into here, we could see him die from underneath the actual bed frame, and that's the big part that, oh, there it is. Skies is actually going to get into the wall, and that's going to be the case down inside of sight, and now Oxygen have to answer for their sins.
Did Oxygen swing anyone else in among the chaos of Newers going down? That's the question, as we did have a player on Repel. It does not look like it, though, given how quiet everything has gone. And yeah, Foxy didn't have this anywhere near breach enough to be able to swing in for the hop. And worse than that, Bosco more than likely would have immediately counted him out on trade. Bert, though, doesn't even care about the laser gate, just pushes right through it and finds the kill. He'll be immediately exchanged. Laxing and Foxy, though, on their upstairs entry, are able to get interior site control for themselves, evening it out down to a 2v2. Now case control maintained as well. Laxing given a little bit of a gift of life there. He's allowed to stay alive against that cross, and a second time. Bosco can't find the kill on the second engagement either. Rampy now finally picks up the first of it, but Foxy will trade it out. Now he needs to find the clutch, though, and Bosco, he's got a shotgun to win this one out with. He's going to go directly for the engagement. Will he find him? Yes. He'll kneecap him, knocking him out, and giving SSG yet another round.
Nothing quite like Boss Goat on an SAS operator. You love to see it for Space Station Hot, and you keep those hands going. You keep them warm. Keep on running those miles, my boy. SSG will be ahead by 1 round, but if we know anything about this series, that does not mean a damn thing when it comes to Oxygen. More than likely got one loaded up themselves, right in the chamber, ready to send back across the bow of Space Station.
Does not change the state of this game, as Stokes was just mentioning. They're only 1 round ahead still for SSG, so Oxygen need to keep this teeter-totter swinging. It is their turn to ascend into the sky. If they can close out on yet another basement attack, that's going to be the problem, though. SSG heavily reinforcing the interior of this site. Look at all the trap operators as well as just mitigation operators that are coming to bear here. We've got the laser gates, we've got the ADSs, we've got the Goyo canisters to hold things back. We've got the smoke canisters. We have got as well the thorn grenades that are going to be thrown out here also. SSG is bringing everything they possibly can, except for like, sorry. Except for, I just like lost my train of thought there really poorly. Yeah, except for obviously the big LMG operator here, which could bring in the incendiaries as well. Tachanka, that's really the only thing we could potentially be missing for SSG. Just couldn't remember Tachanka's name for some reason.
Yeah, Chunk. I mean,
there is so many operators now. It's starting to get me. Like,
53 was sense.
I think we've passed my brain's memory limit, so I'm occasionally lapsing on these now. I apologize for that.
Let me introduce you to a little thing called League of Legends. Let me tell you, I'm almost level 150 in that game. I still have no idea what's going on. But anyways, Oxygen warming things up inside of these first 30 seconds. And as you said, no LMGs coming to bear for OXG, which is a little interesting, especially with the current meta as of right now, but mostly leaning into the util that Oxygen is bringing to bear here. And this could be extremely useful at the end of the day. Have a lot of frag grenades in tow, especially with Dream bringing up Maverick. Have one of the laser blooms going off. Newers won't have his life removed from him as he'll quickly work his way out of the freezer stairwell, but he does have Bosco on the receiving end if they want to try and deal with this again.
Let's go move it up just to try and knock out any presence that might have been waiting behind that drone. Not going to be able to find it, but he chucks out a Toxic Bait for good measure anyway, just to keep things safe and keep things, more importantly, delayed away from any potential execute that OXG could play into here. So they're going to take things nice and slow for the reasons that we had already been mentioning. There is a boatload of utility to work their way past. They're going to have to hope that these Rotero drones make impact on this round, as if not, things are going to be going very bleak very quickly for the potential execute that Oxygen will want to work in towards. Starting off with this one right here, which will not be able to knock out the presence of that deployable shield here. Still going to stick in, so Foxy needs to use a second drone now to fully get rid of it.
Yes, indeed. And that's going to be the only deployable shield instead of elbow for Sky, so he's going to play the angle for some time and still has the opportunity to fall back when he so chooses. They have one reinforcement still in their pocket as well, so more than likely intended for that rotation hole once he does fall back more towards stock. Another Rotero drone out will discover Rampy's position inside a freezer hallway, but this is all just collection at the current moment, and a kill for Newers. Tries to hit the flick on the pillar player, but Rampy swings perfectly into that area. Takes him down. Fantastic answer from SSG as they're holding Oxygen at the gates.
Rest of Oxygen here, as you said, being held back. Not going to have the confidence, even with the flashes assisting them, to swing down on the inside. Rampy as well, getting eaten up hugely here by Incendiaries. He'll be brought down nearly to half HP as a result of that, but the Rat works out, unfortunately. Too quick on the exchange, though, from Laxing. Only able to put together one. Keeps us down into a 2 versus 3 now, as Bosco has been able to knock another member of the OXG attacking force. That's going to prompt Laxing to try and take his teammate's place, but Bosco still here, ready to knock them out. It's another quick shotgun kill for him, leaving everything onto Vert in a 1v3. Not looking good for him as he tries to move in. There's a cross already established by Houghton. He's going to be able to shut it down from SSG. Another one more round away from locking in the regulation victory that they so desperately need to stay in the race for the major.
This is incredible from Spacestation. They're playing extremely well as of right now. And you know, it's really, really interesting as well because SSG has been a team that throughout the stage, they've been kind of backed into a corner. That's where I'd say they're at as of right now, right? And for Oxygen, it seems like they're really on the receiving end of a fight or flight version of SSG, and they are fighting for sure. They've basically gone feral as of right now. We've been seeing them just take it to Oxygen time and time again throughout Oregon. It's been handled extremely well. See if they can continue to do so as they are now eyeing up Kitchen and Meeting, a site that was quite the debacle between these two when Oxygen was the one taking it. SSG not having the best clear of tower initially and also having to deal with quite a few bodies inside of Meeting overall. Once we got near the tail end of that round, complicated things for sure. So we'll see if SSG can do some of the similar things to Oxygen's offensive side.
So SSG sits at the precipice here. They've only got 2 opportunities to close it down, but hey, it's better than 1 considering the way that this game has been going. That was almost the expectation of how this game was going to play out. Regardless, though, SSG giving us some great defensive stances. They are going to be forced onto a tertiary site, which is going to be probably a little bit worrisome for them. However, things have been looking good these past few rounds, and Oxygen has been crumbling a little bit in terms of their own capability to attack here. So with that window being left open, there's a great chance here for SSG to shut it down now. Get themselves a definitive 7-4 scoreline. It's going to be a quick clear from Oxygen, though, over here towards the bathroom side. They'll be able to make their way in, get small tower cleared out, as well as cafeteria and the showers without any conflict from SSG.
Now, on a side note, if SSG does end up taking this, I am blaming the rest of the talent pool for all of my mispicks this stage.
That is true.
Because a majority, and I'm not even joking, a majority of my picks that I've gotten wrong, all of you have picked with me. So therefore, it's everybody else's fault, not mine, and that's how we're going to go about that.
Couldn't any of us say the same exact thing?
Yeah, but your pick chance is just, well, your pick percentage just isn't nearly as high, is it? That's just
like 3% less than yours. We got a push coming out from Fultz, though, in the depths of the basement, and he catches Foxy with his pants down, trying to entry in through a garage. He'll be knocked out. That'll be the Lion removed as well. So at least one part out of the 2-piece intel game taken out of this attacking lineup.
Yeah, see, that's a difference between like 4% right there, John. That's a win or a loss, isn't it? And now, speaking for Newers, he's looking for the dub, and he'll take down Skies, making it look easier and easier as they'll get their first kill. He'll continue to hold on to security, have some frag grenades to try and throw up and into this top floor cloud defense. Also try and work the angles above security, but this could be ill-advised depending on how Oxygen tries to negotiate for the site. We're gonna have some nice kills going on to SSG yet again from Oxygen. A frag grenade out, but nobody home as of now. To fall back here for Space Station's sake. They know that they're trying to work their way through the kitchen hallway, but they're still all upstairs. Oxygen hasn't found an exact spot to put this case down yet, but they're going to have to try and fend off a lot of the stairwell play here from Space Station.
Foltz continuing to wait for that potential cross out. As you can see, there is a member of Oxygen just waiting in the wings there. I believe it might be Vertical potentially trying to make a play, and indeed it is going to be him, but he seems to be hyper aware of this big tower positioning, so he is going to wait it out here. It's a good thing too. Foltz is going to start to back away. Comes back though when he hears some noise going off. He's going to need to. Nuris has picked up another kill now, knocking out Rampy, leaving all of the defense down to just Foltz as well as Houghton. Oxygen should be going for a plant relatively soon here, as they've got every right to work into it, but Houghton from up on top still able to make his impact. Steals away one of the members of Oxygen, as well as finally stops the rampage that Nuris has been on so far in this round here. Won't be able to hatch drop. There's already a cross established to stop that. Houghton's still going to take a position next to it here, but absolutely zero interruption on the plant. Goes down smooth as butter for Oxygen, as now we are thrusted into a 2v3 post plant where Oxygen seems to have most situations. Red, there's the drop. That'll be countered, and now just the Stairs player, which also as well has been read into Vert, and Laxing shut that down incredibly quickly and push us to the final round of regulation.
Well, you have one shot, one opportunity. I'm not going to finish it.
Your reference game is just out of control today.
It is indeed. It is indeed. But, I mean, it's true. Spacestation, they really need this regulation win as of now. They cannot allow Oxygen to go to overtime. This is it. If it does go to OT, you're probably going to see quite a few heads held pretty low from that roster, as SSG has definitely had the opportunity to take this game away from Oxygen. Oxygen now looking to see if they can propel themselves to overtime and guarantee a punch ticket to Berlin, Germany for the very first time in Rainbow Six's history, I do believe. So it'll be pretty interesting to not only have that event, but also have Oxygen there with how strong they've been playing.
Well, let's see. This is SSG's last opportunity. Of course, going to be a little bit more comfortable in terms of the site choice here, as they won't have to be as mobile to make their defense work here, as they'll be returning to the upstairs hold. But for Oxygen, things are going to get a bit more difficult as well, as they have less room to wiggle inside of their execute, and we saw the problems with that when they tried to go for that heads-up play with Nuris in the Gar hook and trying to work his way in through the below hatch, which didn't really work out too well for the squad. Aside from that, though, they are going to return to a more normal attacking lineup here. Formulation of hard and soft breach, as well as the capability to take up the utility deeper in the site with Fox's Rotero drones. We have to see how they can clear out the extended game from SSG and force them back into the bunker upstairs.
I'd say it's a pretty based chemical makeup, you know? I'm going to work out for Oxygen. They have everything that they need to break down a map like Oregon. So past that, SSG on an extension as Skies is all the way over instead of Big Tower, but he's by himself, all on his lonesome, and Oxygen looking to exploit that fact quickly. Starting to apply pressure all around the area, including the windows as well as the doors. So Sky's smart decision he can make, try and get inside the stairwell. Unfortunately enough, Rampy has actually came to assist him. This is going to allow Skies to work his way out of the tower, but Bosco actually going to get a big pick onto Newers? Question mark? How did he even get that all the way outside? Not even on the balcony, folks. He's on the rooftop past the balcony, and the M590 rather still gets Newers.
So a nice shot regardless coming out from SSG. Will delete one of the main stands here from Oxygen. One of the big players has been allowing for this team to continue to surge forward inside of the rankings in the NAL. Not going to be able to help out this time, however. Thankfully, just on the Zophius, utility losses at a minimal. Let's pretty much can say that for most members of OXG, there's not one key member of this team that's going to severely detract from the squad strategy if they go down. So that means deaths like this are a minor occurrence here, especially if they can make up for it quite quickly with an exchange against one of the members of SSG, which is bound to happen at some point here. But at the same time, OXG need to build up the confidence to be able to pinch in. That means they need positioning to do so as well. You can see Foxy starting to establish that on the inside of Trophy. Sky seems somewhat aware of this push, though. Just doesn't have the right read, but the distraction works out regardless. Skies is caught trying to throw that Nitro, and in the process, Vertical will push directly into Attic, take the control away, and knock out another member of SSG.
Now, Sky is trying to do too much in that position. You really want to see him lean back and try and use that Nitro cell for something a little bit later on, but thought that he could potentially punish a player that could be under the default cam, but ill-advised, obviously, with the players inside of Attic, as well as the one up near Trophy. More than likely wouldn't have worked out for him. Bosco will double back and take down another Oxygen member, a Spacestation Gaming. They're looking to make sure that they still have an opportunity to go to Berlin. They'll take down Foxay. Vertical, he's the last one up and alive here inside of the 1 versus 4. Can he be the one to get it done for OXG? Has a yellow ping through, but nobody home on that. Case out here on concrete. Knows one has to be playing inside of games, but that's all she wrote. Spacestation Gaming take away the game from Oxygen inside of regulation, and no one set for